Hi, everybody. This week's newsletter episode is about pain, prolapse, pelvic health, and puppies. I want to take a minute to introduce my perfect little puppy. Her name is Fruity, or Fruitcake, or Fruit Cup, and she's a blue heeler, a cattle dog puppy. Yeah, good girl. And she'll be here for probably about a minute of this video before she needs to go do something else. My husband and I now have 3 dogs. She'll be big one day. This week I want to share about my own personal pelvic health journey because I support a lot of women and maybe many of you in your own pelvic health journeys and healing. And I want to share how this has really been a theme in my own life and some healing that I've gone through, as well as what's really supported me personally in that healing. So if you don't know this about me, I broke my pelvis, among many other injuries, but I also tore my psoas and then had just a significant period of atrophy where for a variety of reasons I wasn't really able to be mobile. And what this resulted in was not only severe and chronic pelvic pain, but also a whole variety of pelvic health concerns ranging from chronic infection to prolapse to pain to atrophy to painful sex, all of it. And over the last decade, I've really been able to heal really all of these pelvic health concerns. I want to talk a little bit about prolapse because I know that there are many of you that are here that struggle with prolapse and my own personal experience with that. So I, ever since my injury, have struggled with a rectal prolapse, which is not a rectocele, although I have had that as well. But rectal prolapse is often one of the most challenging ones to heal. And ultimately, this was undiagnosed and ultimately untreated for many, many years. This was a result of potentially something I was predisposed for in childhood due to my anatomy, but it really flared and became apparent following my pelvic injury. However, I was not given any female pelvic education. I was doing a lot of PT and therapy, being told to move in ways that were ultimately compromising and can cause and flare prolapse. And I just sort of dealt with it quietly or didn't even know that it was happening, but just felt this sense of discomfort and just went on with my life. I was in my early 20s at the time and I really had no idea. But now, fast forward many years, as prolapse usually progresses over years if it's not treated, and now more than a decade later, I'm really focusing on healing my own rectal prolapse. And what this looks like for me is I'm receiving care from other women. And I really wanted to mention this because I know for a lot of you out there who maybe you're body workers, maybe you provide care, maybe you're midwives, maybe you or aspire to be some of those things. And ultimately, I know so much. I have helped thousands of women heal their prolapse, including their rectocele. But when it comes to me and my own body, I still need support. And I need support from other women. I need support from women who can help put this in perspective and help me, really address root cause issues and who really believe in my healing. Because what I also know about prolapse is it can feel really, really hopeless and really sort of intimate and kind of shameful and unending. And if you have struggled with this health issue, then you know it can feel like it's never going to get better, that you're just going to be managing this for the rest of your life. It's sort of embarrassing. It maybe affects your sex life. And everywhere you turn, it's like, oh, well, yeah, you can manage your symptoms. And there's just not a lot of real, true belief in healing. And I want to be someone who says, I totally believe in your healing, and I've seen so many women resolve their prolapse and learn to really center their pelvic health, which is ultimately, I think, an even better way to discuss this topic, because it's not that we necessarily resolve things for good, but instead we center our health and then they no longer become issues, and it's just this touchstone for how we continue to really live into our female bodies and live in alignment with our pelvic health needs. But for me, in my personal journey, I felt all those same feelings of, is this ever going to get better? I do everything. How is this going to be resolved? I don't get it. I feel, embarrassed, all of it. And I wanted to really come out and say that because I never want to paint the picture that it's, all figured out, or that I don't have, or that I'm sort of immune to or healed past the emotional aspects that are in line with our pelvic health. Did you see my puppy escape? I just had to go retrieve her. But these emotional aspects of pelvic health are ultimately something that I feel need to be centered more when we talk about this care. And when I see women in my own one-on-one practice, this is really what we're looking at. We're looking at not just all of the physiological care, which obviously that's a huge aspect of it, but really what are the conditions that are required in order to center that physiological care? What are the beliefs that we have about our healing? What are the emotional aspects that might be preventing us from really sinking in and feeling supported in our capacity to change and address our pelvic health concerns? And I find that for the vast majority of prolapse, mine's actually quite complex and came from blunt force trauma and is actually quite rare in the grand scheme of things. But for the vast majority of prolapse, the actual movements and the physiological healing isn't super complicated. There's obviously learning to be done, and actions and breath work and posture to be addressed, and tissues to be strengthened and tissues to be released, like all of that. But that's very doable, right? And that's doable. But it becomes doable when we have an environment in which it's supported, and when we have a mindset and a belief in our healing that really allows us to center those, the time and the needs that are required to do that healing work. And we have a lifestyle that doesn't continue to exacerbate our pelvic health symptoms more broadly. So I know for me, it's definitely been a journey of building a life like that, right? And building a life that's allowed me to center my female pelvic health. And I am still on that journey with all of you, really, because ultimately we live in a world where that's not centered. We live in a world where many of us, sit for work and have, not had pelvic centering our whole lives, and have learned to walk and move and breathe like men. And we're really up against a lot. And I don't think that means that we can't absolutely still have vibrant female health as women, and learning how to do so and learning how to implement that is something I'm really, really focused on, obviously, right? And focused on not just more broadly in my practice, but really focused on in my own life. So if you're listening to this, I want you to know that whether you're struggling with chronic UTIs, yeast infections that won't go away, painful sex, anorgasmic sex, prolapse, I've actually been there. Like, I've actually had all of those health concerns and I've dealt with them for over a decade, and largely I feel great today, and I still have things that I walk with and work with. And I want to offer that, just that solidarity, and also that belief in your healing that really comes from my own, not just my own experience with other women and their healing, but my own first person healing. I've also found and still walk with a, significant amount of pain in my own body. But it's so much better than it ever was, and it's getting better all the time. I've had a whole variety of structural injuries. As I said, I broke my pelvis, but also broke my hip and my neck and my back, and I've had some other things. And I now feel like I can move comfortably and can really actually live into the life that I want. And I still understand the challenges of, wow, this hurts. What do I do today? And how do I address this? And what I have had over the years is so many kinds of body work, really. I've had so many kinds of body work, ranging from, myofascial care, to chiropractic care, to massage, to physical therapy. You name it, I've probably done it and tried it. And ultimately, I found a lot of it helpful, some of it more so than others. But what has been the most helpful for me is really learning how to do that care for myself, and really learning how to be sovereign in my own capacity to support my body, and really take what I have learned from having that much care and figure out how to apply it in my daily life. The last thing that I want to mention here is, I know for myself that if I had had an opportunity to learn all this information about my pelvic health an opportunity to receive really good female-focused body work, an opportunity to just take a step back, reset, and really center and move forward with information that was truly female-focused, I think my pelvic health concerns would have resolved a lot faster. I know my prolapse would have resolved a lot faster, and I wouldn't have spent years, really not treating it. And I just want to mention something. I probably should mention this sooner. It's maybe a little out of order in this video, but it's harder for me to heal my prolapse now, 10 years later, than it would have been originally. And so if you are struggling with this and you're in your postpartum period, or even not, again, my prolapse wasn't due to childbirth, right? The sooner that we can address it and the sooner that we can center it, the better, and the more easeful our healing process will be. Also, if you're watching this and say, I have struggled with my prolapse since I had my kids, and I've had them 20, 30 years ago, and I'm still struggling with this, it can still get better and improve. And I'm in your category, right? I didn't address this for years. And I'm right there with you in that it can get better. Mine has gotten better, and so can yours, even if it's many years later. So just want to put that little tidbit in. But, okay, this is getting long, but this ultimately is why I created the Radical Pelvic Health Intensive, because if following my pelvic injuries, I'd had a place to go to receive just such a broad and comprehensive approach to women's pelvic health, understanding the bony structures, the anatomy, the fascia, our endocrine system, our nervous system, our lymphatic system, and how they all relate together to support our pelvic health. And then actually had the emotional support and the emotional healing, the nervous system reset that is so integral for really healing these women's health concerns. If I had been able to talk about this stuff with other women, if I had been in community where I knew other women's healing journeys and I didn't feel so alone and so isolated, where I didn't ask for help and I didn't feel good about asking the questions, and I didn't see other examples for prolonged healing, and if I didn't have to weed through so much body work, so much movement, so much physical therapy, so much chiropractic care that ultimately I think wasn't actually that supportive for my female physiology, but instead had really focused attention on the female body and how our body work and various modalities can actually support our pelvic health and healing. Oh my gosh, my life today would be so different if I had actually had the opportunity to do that. And that's why I create that for women now in our pelvic health and healing journeys. Because this is resolvable, this is healable, and we do it through care and sovereignty and education and community and a full body, full lifestyle approach, and really through feeling and understanding that downregulation in our nervous system and really understanding that healing is possible. So that's just my personal backstory in my pelvic health and healing, how I'm right there with a lot of you, and how I really believe that we can all heal together in community. Okay, I will leave it there for this week. If you have any questions about my healing journey, feel free to ask me. You can DM me in the comments or email me. Or you can DM me, you can comment, or you can email me. And yeah, don't worry, you'll keep getting plenty of snapshots of my perfect puppy and my dogs and all that. All right, I hope to see you soon, and I hope that if you're watching this, you can join us on the Radical Pelvic Health Intensive, because I believe in your health and healing. Bye for now.